Good day, everyone. I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to a new episode of Recovery. My name is Alain Kapatashungu, and I'm the co-founder of Front Door. Today, I'm really delighted to speak with Raj Qsar. So Raj is the owner and CEO of the Boutique Real Estate Group, which is a brokerage founded in Orange County, California. Raj created a really interesting culture between technology and social media with a really, really interesting marketing approach. And I can't wait to just kind of hear what he will tell us about it in a few. But first of all, Raj, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on the call. I
Absolutely.
love this worldwide Zoom call here.
Absolutely. My pleasure to have you on this morning. So for those of you guys who don't know Raj, so Raj pretty much, he's one of the most creative people in our industry in the residential real estate space. He's been named, most literally every single category there is, as it pertains to like real estate awards and honors. To give you guys an example, like I think the most recent one was in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, where so Raj and the group, the Boutique Real Estate Group, were awarded the Real Estate Influencer of the Year by Inman News. So, on top of it, Raj is a really incredible leader, focused on empowering his agents and people, and he's really just kind of paying forward for folks in and out of real estate. So I just encourage you to get on his LinkedIn page and look it up on Twitter and look it up. He's just an amazing people to be able to learn from, and we are really, really fortunate to have him on the show today.
Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. So Raj, to get us started, the first question that I would like to ask you is, can you walk us through or try to describe what it has been for you? What is quote unquote a typical work day in Orange County during this crisis, pretty much for you?
Well, that's a really fun question to ask, but I think it's even more fun to answer because it has a story tied to it. So,
awesome.
Back in March, I was doing a keynote for a very dear friend of mine's real estate brokerage. It was their kickoff for the year. And we were up in Oakland, in the Oakland area. And we got to spend a little bit of time in Napa because I love wine.
Awesome.
Wine's my thing. I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
I can't wait to come to France one day and have some of the wines there. It would be absolutely like a bucket list dream come true.
That's a given. But absolutely.
While we were there, all the news about coronavirus was hitting literally last March 2019. Yes. And so we really didn't know what to think of it. We didn't really know. We were glued to the news and the internet. Yeah. And basically came back, and a couple days into March, and our statewide association, the state of California, deemed us as non-essential.
Oh my God.
So I was like, what? We can't even work. It was like illegal to work in the state of California, being a real estate agent and owning a real estate company. So basically we made the really difficult decision to shut the doors of our office.
Wow.
Send everyone home and really transition into like a digital online work and trying to figure it out. But we're a small company. We have about 30 agents. We're based in the heart of Orange County. And that first 2 weeks of the lockdown, we lost 25 escrows. Wow. So that's 25 transactions. And those are executed contracts, buyers, sellers in escrow, walking away. And so that's a really big deal for us. And our price points in Orange County range, we're probably an average price point around 2 to 3 million for our average listing. So losing 25 escrows at a price of $3 million each, $75 million in 2 weeks, it's like, oh my goodness. And it was just the beginning of spring, and it was just, the market was just picking up. So we shut down. About 3 weeks into the lockdown, we became essential again, and we got back to work. Went back to the office, started figuring things out. And our association was great here in California. They really were keeping in touch with us, communicating with us, because back in March, we really didn't know anything about the virus.
Absolutely.
It was going worldwide. And, we were a little bit fearful of what we saw on the news, because the news is always, it's the news. And so you see the craziest things on the news, and then you don't even know if it's true. And then, March and April, I didn't know anyone who was infected with COVID. I didn't know anyone, yet the state's locked down, restaurants are shut down, we're barely working. The real estate market was crashing, the stock market was crashing, all this stuff was happening, and we really didn't know. And the last time this happened was back in 2007 and 8 when we had the recession, so to
The
speak.
recession, yeah.
And that was really turbulent, but out of difficult times,
Okay.
out of pain, out of like pure, like crazy pain, there's lessons to be learned.
Absolutely.
And the lesson that we learned is we just started reaching out to people who were looking, checking our online analytics. You and I connected through Andrew Flackner of Real Scout.
Absolutely.
We would jump in our Real Scout dashboard, see who was checking, and all of a sudden there was a little blip. We got a phone call. Hey, Raj, like to look at this property. I get an email from our transaction coordinator. Hey, Raj, we opened an escrow today. We were like, oh,
we are back.
And it was back, and it was just, I call them like the early COVID adopters.
Yeah.
They were watching the market. There was an opportunity because they saw prices initially going down because everyone was so scared. And in our market in Southern California, everything's been going up.
Oh.
So with the crisis, for a really like 4 to 5 week period, there was an opportunity where people were like, hey, I've been watching this home. It's been on the market for a month or two. They just took $100,000, $200,000, $1 million price drop. Yeah. I'm jumping in. And that was the beginning of it. And I think I want to say that was like mid-April.
Okay.
Come end of April, beginning of May, it was like they opened the floodgates. Wow. The phones were off the hook. Our our lead generation was off the hook. Awesome. And at the very beginning of that, we got a phone call for someone looking for like a luxury estate. And it literally was the highest price sale. It was in May in the particular city in Orange County ever. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is happening right now. And literally that pushed us through, kept the lights on, and got everything going again. And we literally, we closed more homes in Q3 and Q4 than we did the previous 2 years combined.
That's incredible. That's just incredible.
It was the busy. So again, nothing's typical.
Yeah.
We have a global pandemic or we don't. In this industry, in real estate, the lesson is there is no day that's typical. Absolutely. I do have my routine that I follow pretty much every day, but what the universe brings me, what text I get that morning, what email, what phone call, there's nothing typical about it.
Completely agree with that. Definitely never the same. You have to be, I think the word for 2020, and I think it's going to be the one as well for 2021, is you have to be adaptable. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure that you just not only react, but you can even try, if you are curious enough. Actually, I've realized that talking with some other agents that you can even try to anticipate sometime. Mm-hmm. If you're actually adaptable, you can do it. But if you're always in reaction mode, as you said earlier, you talked about how pretty much just your team, you've been able to, grind it all up and make sure that you guys are still going, you guys are still doing work. You have to be able to adapt to what life is throwing at you. And that's why you guys are still standing when you see so many brokerages and so many agents who actually didn't make it out. So it makes complete sense.
Yeah, and what's interesting is at the beginning, Alain, the beginning, we were like, this is it. We're going down. Like, it's over, you know? But what happened is that every single, say, channel of our industry, whether it's us, feet on the street as realtors, interacting with clients, whether it's our escrow companies, the title companies, all the inspectors, the lenders, everybody is at capacity.
Wow.
So you try to get a contractor into a home to do a remodel project right now, it's absolutely impossible. You can't get an interior designer, a contractor, a plumber, electrician, anything home related.
Yeah.
Is impossible right now.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So Raj, as a CEO yourself, as an owner of the Boutique Real Estate Group, you lead, again, hardworking people, women and men, in these difficult times. How did you stay? You talked a little bit about Real Scout and some of the things that you've been able to do, but how did you stay on top of not only your agents going through these fearful times, but also your clients' needs during this pandemic? Have you been able, since you guys were deemed non-essential, which is crazy, have you been able to still get in, on the phone with them, Zoom with them? How did you manage to pretty much, keep going?
Yeah, it's definitely been, that's a great question. It's definitely been an evolution. At the
Yeah.
beginning, we didn't know what to do.
Okay.
We really didn't. We were deemed on, we didn't know if we walked outside, if we would sniff the virus
Yes,
and fall
exactly.
and like, and not to make light of the virus at all, but we just didn't know, you know?
Absolutely.
And it was,
Absolutely.
we were watching movies and reading books of all these like
Yeah.
outbreaks across and we really didn't know? And so,
Absolutely.
just being the leader, there's a lot of credit with our California Association of Realtors, the
Okay.
staff, the team there. They were having every Friday, a weekly town hall meeting with all the
Got it.
leaders in California on a Zoom call. So, at the beginning there was 10, 15, and I think there was a couple hundred towards the middle
Oh,
of the
wow.
pandemic there, where
Awesome.
people were jumping on, asking questions, leading ideas. We have a bunch of new forms now that's keeping people, compliant and safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have strict protocols that on every listing,
Okay.
posted on every
Awesome.
door or inside the house. So there's been a lot of thought into how we can do our business and yet be
Okay.
safe. And I
That's
think
awesome.
when they leave it in our hands with great leadership that we have coming from our association, they give it in our hands and we make safe decisions. If we're not feeling well, we won't go out. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And not
Absolutely.
everyone has COVID. There's other things happening in the world, but you have the
Yeah.
sniffles, a cold, a fever, you lose your taste or smell. You just don't work. You make that smart decision not to work,
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
So, but it's
That's
been a
awesome.
lot of Zoom calls, Alain. A lot of Zoom
Awesome.
calls.
Yeah. I bet.
5, 6 a week. There was at the beginning in March and April, a group of agents across the country where it was
Okay.
almost every day we were jumping on the call with you. Hey, what are you
Wow.
doing in this situation?
Yeah.
I have an escrow like this. Hey, I just got this information. Like, what are you doing with it? What do we do? And now with the vaccine coming out,
Absolutely.
mindset's changing a little bit. People
That's
are,
awesome.
a little bit coming out and
Yeah.
trying to be
Yeah.
as normal as possible,
Absolutely. So what would you say, what would be for you the one thing that was overlooked, but that just, COVID pretty much validated as a demand in the industry? What was the thing that you were like, no, we don't really need that, but now it's just something that you cannot do without just because of what happened in 2020 and still going now? What is the one thing for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. The interesting thing is I've been either Zooming or FaceTiming
Okay.
clients in
Okay.
my sphere more than I ever have in my life. Ever.
Wow.
So instead of
That's
just making
crazy.
a phone call or sending a text,
True.
I'm FaceTiming people. And that
Oh,
just, they see you, they connect with you,
exactly.
they feel your
Exactly.
emotion. And when you
Agreed.
just call someone and say, hey, I was thinking about you today. I drove by
Yeah.
your house. I drove by your office. What's
Yeah.
going on? And I
That's
think that's
awesome.
been the biggest thing.
That's awesome.
We're so busy. So
Yeah.
I always say we're traveling 100 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour world
Exactly.
in our industry. And so a lot of times
Exactly.
just getting a text out is like all you can do. But
Yeah.
instead of doing that, we had more time. We weren't going back and forth to the office. We were at home. We just had more
Absolutely.
time to do the things that we know work.
Yeah.
And it just made more sense. Like, hey, I'm going to FaceTime them and see how they're doing right now.
That's awesome.
And they're
That's
probably
awesome.
in their pajamas because everyone's home all day long,
Pretty
But
much.
I'm going to Zoom them and see what's up. And then I'll be in my
Exactly.
pajamas and let's have a FaceTime call,
Absolutely. That's great. And I don't know about you, Raj, but it also gets back to what I believe real estate is ultimately. And I know that, you have a bunch of companies out there really building great things on the technology standpoint, but when you talked about just being able to FaceTime and pretty much having everybody on a video call, that's because our industry, it's first and foremost a people industry, right? And this thing is pretty much just preventing us to be able around people. So it's I don't think that there's actually another industry that is so human based that more than the real estate industry. So that's why I think it's been really, really tough on some agents and
Yeah.
things of
And
that nature.
Elaine, real quick, human-based and
Yeah,
emotional. The
absolutely.
process of buying and
Absolutely.
selling a home, it
Absolutely.
hits all your senses. It hits
Completely.
everywhere in your mind.
Yeah,
Like literally. So as you're walking a property with someone, you literally see them pause at the
absolutely.
dining room and imagine,
Yeah,
you can see them thinking like, this is where we'll have Christmas dinner. This
exactly.
is
They
where
can
we'll open
project it.
gifts under the tree. So
Yeah,
not only is it emotional, but it's that human interaction, and we all
agreed.
relate to it. Having a
Agreed.
home, being in a home, it's like
Absolutely.
it hits on so many levels.
Completely agree. Completely agree. To speak a little bit about Orange County, where you have such a great expertise, what can you tell us about the market there? Like, can you tell us about what's happening, whether it's transaction wise or trend wise? Uh, Anything changed be, between what's happening between the start of the pandemic and now? What have you observing in the market?
Yeah, the market here in Orange County is 100% a seller's market.
Okay.
Home,
Oh
there's
wow.
first of all, there's literally no inventory. So
Wow.
if you're looking for a home in a particular city between $1 and $2 million, there may be
Okay.
5 homes for sale.
Oh my God, that's
So
wow.
there's no inventory. Interest rates are still at an all-time low, historical
Low.
lows. There's
Okay.
no inventory, and everybody wants bigger. They want more
Yeah.
house. They want
Yeah.
more yard. I was just talking to someone yesterday, and back in 2019, people were like, "I don't need my home office anymore. I just go to
Exactly.
Starbucks and work. I go to the park and work, whatever." Now everyone wants 2 home offices,
Exactly.
one for each spouse. So there's this
Absolutely.
whole demand. Everyone's at home now, so they're actually in their home. They're like, "Gosh, if I could sell it for this
Yeah.
and get this and have more outdoor space, have more bedrooms, have more off, like people are
Wow.
doing it." And so
That's
everyone's
incredible.
upgrading. Um, and what we're seeing also in especially in Southern California, are people are
Okay.
leaving California as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
they've done what they've done here in
Okay.
California, and now they're leaving. And the most popular states people are going to are Texas, Tennessee, and Idaho.
Oh, wow.
So
What do you
people are
think?
really going, and they're getting 5, 6, 10 acres of land with a massive
Yeah,
home for half the price that they're spending here in Southern
that's
California.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So everyone's
That's
really
incredible.
upsizing. And I think a lot of it is because people are figuring out that they could run their business anywhere in the
Yeah,
world.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely
so
agree.
if they could pick up shop out of California, and California, as I'm sure you know, is so heavily taxed,
Absolutely. Yeah,
heavily, heavily
I know
taxed.
that.
So
Yeah,
if people move up and out of California and are able to go to Idaho, Texas, Tennessee, Montana, wherever they're going,
yes.
live comfortably, have what they want, and probably for half the
The
price, if
price.
not
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Cost of living is less on every
Wow.
aspect, and they're able to run everything digitally. Why not?
Okay.
And
That's
so we're seeing a
incredible.
lot of that. I mean, a lot of the wealthier clients that we deal with, all
Okay.
their financial planners are like, "Hey, if you move out of California to any of these states, by the time you retire, you'll have much, much more money in your bank account by doing the exact same thing you're doing here."
That's crazy.
So it's really an interesting time in the cycle of real estate in
Yeah.
our lifetime, that all this is happening and all at the same time.
That's actually amazing. I was speaking as well with Joyce Ray from Coldwell Banker a few days ago, and she exactly uttered the same words that you just shared. That she told me that people now, they're not even looking for just a home now. They want to make sure that there's a home office attached to it. To your point, where before you were like, no, I'm not working from home. I just need somebody. I just need somewhere, somewhere else I can go. And now it's pretty much the first argument when they're looking at a home is like, can I have an extra space for my
Yes.
office or things of that nature? And I think this is something that we haven't heard about before COVID, pretty much, at least not
Yeah.
at this level.
Yeah. And
Um,
everyone, all those people who are downsizing and
yes,
sold in 2018, 2019 to downsize because
yes,
they're now retired. Now their family's back home.
exactly,
Now they're upsizing because everyone's home now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so, what do you think that this hiatus pretty much? Do you think that this hiatus forced agents and our industry as a whole to reimagine or rethink how work gets done? Do you think that we're just gonna do things differently after this when the vaccine gets into play? Do you think that just the way we work will change forever?
Well, I think our world 100% has changed forever. Done.
Okay.
Yeah, in every aspect.
Yeah,
There was a
agreed.
group of us who could literally manage an entire transaction in the palm of their hand
Oh wow.
before COVID.
Yes.
Now, if you're not, you're in the wrong industry.
Agreed.
So You have to. There's the great divide I've always talked about. You know, it basically started at the beginning of social media, where everyone who understood social media was on a certain path. Their voice was much louder than everyone else not on social media.
Agreed.
Okay. And so now the path is social media plus being able to work anywhere on the planet.
Absolutely.
The one difference now, though, in our industry is we need to be walking, we need to put our eyes on the property. Yes. We have to walk the home. Your clients have to touch and feel. You know, in 16 years of the business, I've only sold 3 homes where the buyer had never even seen the home until I gave them the keys.
Wow. Just 3 in 16 years. Wow.
In 16 years, that's only happened 3 times. And every time they basically said, everything we saw online was enough. It looked immaculate and beautiful. But I think that will be more and more common.
Agreed.
As time goes on.
Completely agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. So you are an owner, you lead this incredible men and women at the boutique. What advice would you give to, unfortunately, a new agent starting in the business right now as we go through this crisis? What would you tell them to focus on as they start their career, pretty much?
That's so great. So I subscribe to some text from a good friend of mine. His name's Sharon Shrivastava. I'm not sure if you've interviewed him or know him, but he's an amazing entrepreneur, thought leader in our industry. It's funny, right before I walked into my office, I got a text. And I looked down and I was like, and I read the show notes. I was like, oh, this is perfect for that. But basically for anyone starting off in the industry, this is such a great quote to like write down, pass on. Sure. But amateurs, so brand new in the industry, amateurs have preferences. Winners have systems.
Oof, that's powerful.
So, amateurs have preferences. So they're like, hey, I want to sell luxury real estate. I want to drive a fancy car. I want to, you know, have everything, you know, like they have preferences. Like, okay, absolutely. I want to show 5 homes a day, even though they have no clients. You know, they have preferences, but the winners are the ones that I have a system. Agreed. This is my goal.
It's powerful.
For the year. These are my tactics.
Yes.
They're going to help me achieve my goal. And then every tactic has an action plan. That's specific, that's awesome. Measurable, attainable.
Awesome.
And you just go after it. So if you have a goal with no action plan, it's silly to even set a goal.
Absolutely. So it's pretty much wishful thinking.
It is. And so you have to have a system. And so for new agents that are out there, if new agents ever listen to this conversation between you and I, you have to find a company. And a lot of companies are doing this great right now. You have to find a lot of companies, a company that's got a system in place for new agents. That has a mentorship process. That's like, hey, day 1, this is what we're doing. Week 1, this is what we're doing. Week 2, this is what we're doing. Week 3, come with me. Let's go. Let's follow the leader, you know? So, Alain, I don't know if you know this, but before real estate, I was in medical school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So I did 3 years of medical school. My 3rd year I actually did in London.
Oh, awesome.
And so I studied abroad for a whole year, learning the ropes in a hospital in London. And one of the things that my attendings taught me was basically this, because now your 3rd year of med school, you're hands-on. Yeah. You're in the hospital, you're working with patients, you're doing surgeries, you're doing all of that stuff. And so, it stuck with me, but he basically says, see one, do one, teach one.
Oh.
So you see your mentor do something.
Okay.
Then you go do it. And then you teach it to someone else.
I love it. I love it.
And if you're able to teach someone how to do something, whatever that is, you have mastered that trade.
That is awesome. I love it. It's putting some kind of a chain there. I really love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome.
That's my advice.
Oh, that's great advice. That's really, really great advice and powerful quote too. I love the quote that you just heard a little earlier on. So this is more directed towards you. What would you say? What are some of the lessons that you have learned during this, in certain time as a CEO, leading the boutique? What have you learned on yourself that you didn't know, or that you didn't anticipate to know, at least before the pandemic?
Sometimes when you're leading a group of men and women in our industry, you kind of feel like a little bit alone. You kind of feel like you're on an island. So
agreed.
I've got a handful of people across the country that have absolutely been my rock during this.
That is awesome.
Hey, I need this advice. How can you help me? hey, can you look at this contract? I'm having a very difficult situation. Can you look at this? Just give me an extra set of eyes. I know what I want to do here, but can you help me?
That's awesome.
Or, hey, I'm changing a lot of my vendors now because this is a really different time. I need vendors that are my back end, CPAs, accountants, financial people, all that stuff. I need young, fresh eyes that are looking at this in a new way. Who are you using?
Oh, that's awesome.
How are you structuring your company? Like things like that. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that we're not alone. This has affected everyone in very similar ways, yet very different ways as well.
Agreed.
And so things that are affecting us here in Southern California, in Orange County, is very different than LA, which is right next door. LA is a whole other world right next door.
Absolutely.
20 miles down the freeway. There's a different mindset. There's a different culture. There's a different thought process.
That's incredible.
So I have been thankful to be in we call it the Orange Curtain, in the Orange Curtain in Orange County during this global pandemic.
Wow, that is awesome. That is really, really awesome. The thing that I would love to finish us off with is, so what else? It's early in the year, obviously, but what are some of your personal or business goals this year? What is some of the things that you are really passionate that you just want to get done for this year, pretty much?
Yeah, so
this
for
could be
goals,
personal or business oriented.
So for goals, we'll talk business goals. Business goals, I kind of break up my mindset, like front end versus back end.
Okay.
So on the front end, how we present ourselves to the public, I have specific goals for that. 1, social media. 2, web traffic.
Okay.
3, our team, growing that team and being able to infiltrate the market and grow market share. So that's the front end goal.
Front end,
Back end goals are how are we going to do web traffic? How are we going to attract agents to our culture and our company? And how are we going to grow the brand?
Oh, powerful. I love that front end, back end. I never thought about it that way. I love it. That's really, really interesting. Thank you very, very, very much, Raj. It's a wrap. Recovery Season 2, Episode 2 with Raj Qsar is done. You can watch this episode on YouTube and on all platforms streaming podcasts. And remember, in the recovery, don't just get back to the same place, but strive to get to a better place. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time, Raj. It was my pleasure to connect with you and learn from you and hear from you. That was really powerful.
Thank you so much, Alain. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Please take care of yourself. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I hope we can travel soon so that I can meet you maybe at an event somewhere.
That'd be
grab lunch or dinner or something. And
that'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome. Absolutely. Have a good day in the meantime. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Absolutely.